My name is Vimbaishe Musvaburi. I am a Lemba girl from a little village in Berengwa. Being Lemba means that we are one of the tribes of the lost tribes of Israel. So I am part of the tribe of Levi, right? So our tribe came down right until it came to the end, like right at the bottom of Africa. That's where you find us. What does that mean? It basically means that we're closer to Jesus, correct? So our tribe is very compact and very small. So we settled in that village and we were all in the same area. On the contrary, my mom is a Ndebele lady who comes from a village across the country on the other side in Kezi. Then she met my dad and she was moved on the other side of the country to Mberengwa. So the first part of my life, I was in Mberengwa until I was 9. It's still my home, but when I say I was in Mberengwa, I mean I was there full time and I did all my schooling there. Right, I choose 2 words in my life, 2. The first word is victim, and the second word is survivor. And generally in my life, I chose that I was going to have one, which is survivor. Okay, so my mom coming from the other part of the country, they have what they call spirit of Ubuntu. So when she got to Mberengwa, what she did is she took everybody. She was a teacher by profession, my dad too. So she ensured that everybody gets a chance to education because she was a teacher, my dad was a teacher. So what she did was build a big homestead and took every family member who couldn't afford to go to school and they stayed at the homestead. So those who didn't understand at school, mom did homeschooling in the homestead. What it meant is the 5 children that my mother had was just a number. But as a matter of fact, we were beyond 25. I remember her dishing out food in plates every night on the fireplace, and there'll be more than 25 plates. There was a younger man who was older, but in school because during the war, they had then delayed to go to school. So we called him Sekuru. He was very friendly, extremely. On the other hand, I was the first girl in the family, so everybody else was a boy. I had older brothers who obviously looked out for me. So being around the male was very normal. So Sekuru, being friendly, ensured that he was with me all the time. So I got comfortable. The comfort then turned into something else. At the age of 6, I found myself in a very compromising situation, and my first rape situation happened. I was raped in the afternoon, coming from school. Everybody else hadn't come, and that was the first. Traumatized, scared, broken, I started refusing to get bathed. That was the first experience. The second experience, weeks later, Sekuru called me again and did exactly the same thing. Again, traumatized and scared, I didn't tell anybody. Every morning, I would walk with mom to school, and I wouldn't say anything. He did it the 3rd time, he did it the 4th time, he did it the 5th time, and it started becoming normal. Okay, so normal can easily mess up with your head. You can decide that this is now normal, this is, okay, maybe I deserve this. 1 year later, I was still being raped. Then one day, as I'm walking to school with Mom, it was like 3-4 kilometers to school, we were passing through a river. People in the village bath at a river. So as we passed through that river, there was a number of men that were bathing on the side. So Mom quickly closed my eyes. No, you can't look. You are not allowed to look at men. And as much as I was scared and traumatized and it kept quiet, at that point it came out, Mom, come on. I see Sekuru like this all the time. Mom stopped, looked at me, and said, Watichi? I said, oh no, I see him all the time. And he does things to me all the time. I remember my mom, it's in the river. The river is almost dry, but it's wet. She sat in the water. She took me and she hugged me. And she carried me up and put me on her back. At that point, I knew that I wasn't as broken as my mother. She carried me on her back, yet all the time she'd say, no, you got to be a strong girl. Let's walk. Let's walk. You're old enough to walk. But on that day, she carried me on her back. We got home. My father carried me again. I don't know what she had told my father, but my father carried me in his arms. He wasn't a very affectionate man, but he carried me in his arms, and he took me to his kraal, and he said, you see all of these cows here? I'm giving them to you. You see the whole of my heart? I'm giving it to you. What I will never give anybody is you. So today I want you to know that whatever I'm going to do it for you. What I remember, though, is probably the following day, the whole Lemba tribe gathered at our homestead. And unfortunately for the young man, justice was taken into people's hands, and he was beaten up. From that day, nobody spoke to me about it. Nobody asked me what exactly happened. I wasn't taken to hospital. Then my mother ensured that, okay, this is the time to move into the modern world. Maybe this part of the world is the reason that my child has gone through this. So they bought a house in Bulawayo. When we moved to Bulawayo, I was 8, going into 9. And I withdrew completely. I was a straight A student. But without knowing how to speak English, going into an A school, I learned. I got used to the system. Then years later, I started thriving in sport. Then I realized that, okay, no one has spoken to me. But the way I am in sport is making me survive. I started choosing the word survivor. Years later, I went to a girls' school. I never had any situation regarding men, no boyfriend, never met anybody. Went through my high school, then my mother decided, you're going to university in the UK. 17 years, no one has spoken to me about it. No one has asked me how I feel, and I was still surviving. I went to the UK, started university at 18. When I got there, I was enrolled for a course to do a mental health in nursing. My first placement was in a young adults unit. And the first patient to talk to me had been raped. I said, oh my God, now I need to face this. And I started facing it. What am I saying by telling you all of this? I am saying that in life, you've got to come to a point that you decide to rise above situation. On that very day, I decided that I was going to tell myself that nobody is ever going to decide my future. What do I mean by that? I mean, depression was not going to be a part of my life because I have allowed the gentleman to decide my future. Me not allowing myself to meet a gentleman or a young man to fall in love with was allowing that guy to determine my future. So I decided, look, Vimba, you are now going to survive. And in this survival, you are then going to teach others to survive and to rise above situations, which I did. My speaking about this situation has healed me. I've been speaking about it for 22 years, and it has healed me. I am completely healed. The reason I am speaking about it today is so that somebody else knows that they've got to rise above a situation. 22 years later, I have got a 19-year-old young girl. I have got a 12-year-old son who are happy, in a happy home, with a happy mother. It may come to you that in some instances, you are pushed by extremities and you want to be that person that just swallows yourself in. Today, I want to say to all of you, you've got to rise above your circumstances and experiences. Thank you.